now that the applicant is present and it is officially, for the record, 7:02, I'm going to call the meeting to order tonight of the Granby Planning and Zoning Commission, July 22nd, 2025 meeting. So with that, if everyone would rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, with that, I'm going to open it up for roll call. So if you wouldn't mind starting.
Eric Lukingville, member.
Paula Johnson, alternate.
Eric Myers, Vice Chair.
Bob Lavitt, member.
Meg Bailey, alternate.
Steve Muller, member.
Brennan Shahan, member.
All right, and I'm noting that we have seated two alternates tonight, one for Chris Chinney and one for our chair, Mark Lockwood, and accordingly, I am serving as chair for tonight's session. With that, I am going to move on to the public session. This is the opportunity for members of the public to speak to the commission on any item that is not on the agenda to be discussed tonight. All right, seeing nobody in the room here, I'm going to look at, it looks like we have Joel. Hey, Joel, anything you'd like to speak about us?
Nope, I'm trying to behave.
Okay.
Fuck you guys.
Thank you. All right, well, with that, I'm going to close the public session. Next, moving on to the action on the minutes of July 8th, 2025. I did take a look. They were lengthy minutes. We did have a long meeting last time, but I didn't see anything that concerned me or needed to be updated.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
There is a motion. I have a second.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Abstained, opposed?
Abstained.
Very good. Okay, we're going to move on to the public hearing. We have already read this public hearing, and the open hearing remains open from the last meeting, so we do not need to read the public notice. With that, is the applicant here tonight to discuss the revised application?
Yes, sir. Hi, good evening. I'm Kirk McNaughton from Peak Mountain Development, here to talk about the Breezy Meadow subdivision proposed at 188 Day Street. I apologize for not being at the last meeting. I had hoped to be here and was unable to attend, but I'm here tonight, so hopefully any questions we can get answers to. So tonight, I'm going to pretty much follow the staff comments. Abby has prepared 3 or 4 pages of comments. Just kind of want to go through those. Just for your info, since the time that we had submitted some revised plans and then received comments from the town planner and the town engineer, we've made some further revisions of those plans, and we've submitted 3 additional sheets of plans. So I brought the 8.5 by, well, actually they're 11 by 17 copies on those if you want to pass those down. This is the full set for you. And with those plans, I feel like we've addressed pretty much all of the questions that have been raised in the comments, but we'll go over everything, one step at a time. So, as it's pointed out, and I don't know if all of you were here for the previous meetings, but I'll just kind of go back for a minute and explain that this is a 7-lot subdivision. You kind of see the layout there. It's got frontage both on North Granby Road and also Day Street. There's two lots, lot number 1 and lot number 2, that enter onto North Granby Road. And then there's 5 other lots, lots 3 through 7, that will have access to Day Street. This property is just a little bit over 15 acres and is located in 2 zones, both the R30 zone and the R50 zone. Lots 1 and lots 2 are in the R30 zone. Lot 3 is in part and part. Well, so is lot 2, part and part, but the majority of part 3 is like 50-50, probably something like that. But we've complied with the R50 zone for lot number 3. Well, that's not true, actually. We complied with the R30 frontage requirements for lot number 3. We're treating lot number 3 as R30 zone. So, at the last meeting, there was a lot of conversation about the shared driveway. I'm sure you all are familiar with that. In our previous plan, the driveway that serves lot number 6 and lot number 7 had been shown to start on lot number 5. We've changed this plan now. We've changed the property line. We took the property line between 5 and 6. We moved it to the north to allow the shared driveway only to be on lot number 6, and then access across lot number 6 to number 7. So, our previous configuration did cause some confusion whether or not the plan showing the driveway had met the regulations or not. Regulation section 4.13.2 says that one driveway shall allow access to no more than 2 lots. And if the proposed access will serve more than 2 lots, then the driveway shall conform to the requirements of a private street. So now the way we've moved the road, the shared driveway is only going to be on 2 lots, and its configuration is allowed under the regulations. I just want to address a little bit too, there's been some discussion about the merits or the characteristics of shared driveways, how people have had bad experiences or problems with a shared driveway. We prepared and submitted to the town as part of this application a very detailed and legally binding mutual driveway and utilities easement and declaration to govern the use of the driveway. So this is a document obviously prepared by attorneys. It's very clear and concise. Anyone that's buying either lot number 6 or lot number 7 will have a complete understanding of what they're purchasing and how the shared driveway will be used. And, as I pointed out, this shared driveway configuration is permitted under the regulations. So, while we're talking about the shared driveway, I want to point out that at the last meeting, I watched a video, I wasn't here, it had been suggested by the commission that the driveway, at the last meeting, it was impacting lot number 5. Now it maybe, have more impact on lot number 6, but they are sharing in the driveway. One of the comments was that we should provide more of a planted buffer protecting the homeowner, in this case lot 6, from the user on lot 7. And we show that on this plan. So this is a new plan that you guys are just seeing recently. And as you can see here on the east side of the property, where the driveway here is, we provided proposed planting along the driveway, giving some extra buffer to the owners of lot number 6. This plan that's up on the board is the vegetation preservation planting plan which is a mouthful, but we call it the VPPP. That's kind of a mouthful too, but I'm going to come back to that plan in a minute. In the staff memorandum, the next item that's spoken about is the open space. And I'd like to just review that or go over that with you. It's pointed out that the requirement is that at least 20% of the property is to be dedicated to open space. Our open space is 3.78 acres, which meets the requirement. You can see on the plan, the open space is the portion that's at the very top of the plan, rectangular in shape, with a 20-foot strip leading out to North Granby Road from the large part of the open space. Abby points out that this configuration of the open space does comply with the subdivision regulations. But I wanted to kind of go a little bit further here as we're talking about the open space, just to clarify something that just this afternoon, the town received, and I received a copy of a letter from one of our abutting neighbors, Mrs. Bates, from number 275 North Granby Road. That's the property immediately to the south on North Granby Road, running alongside the 20-foot access strip there. In her letter, well, I want to clear up a misconception spelled out in her letter. She had, well, so the thing with the open space is that 20-foot strip is intended just to be for access to the main part of the site, but it's intended to be for pedestrian use only. We're not proposing a roadway to be built there. The neighbor thought there was going to be a roadway there, and in which case, if there was a roadway, it would then be creating a disturbance to her and a problem overall. And I agree with that. That's not really our intent. Our intent is really just to have a link to a road. And really more so than anything, it really is kind of doing the opposite, because we're really trying to use that as a permanent buffer for the neighbor, where that 20-foot strip won't be touched and it'll be there, you know, forever, and giving them separation from lot number one. Another item pointed out by Mrs. Bates, and I'll just touch base on this a minute. My engineer, Skip Alford's here. He can address it maybe a little bit further if the commission has any questions on it. There is a concern about stormwater runoff running from our property, lot number one, or the house on lot number one, say, onto the Bates property. And we've addressed that in our overall drainage plan. And, you know, it can be, you can see that up in this back right corner, there's a little carve out there, and that's a rain garden there. And all the stormwater is directed both from the roof leaders and from the site to the rain garden area to be collected and held so that it doesn't, you know, cause any increased peak flows onto the neighbor's property. So that concern should be addressed. I guess another item that was brought up in that letter too that I'd like to address is a concern over, you know, whether there've been pesticides or hazardous materials dispensed on the site or anything. So the seller of this property, it's been in their family, the Longley family, for, we're not really sure exactly what year, but close to 100 years. And they've told me in no uncertain terms really that this has been a hayfield for all that time, as far as anybody knows. And the only thing that's ever been put down there is manure, no pesticides or chemicals of any type. So there is no evidence of that or history of that, and there's no reason for us to, go really any further than that based on what we know. So let's go back to the VPP plan, because that was, a point of a lot of discussion at the last meeting as well. And I think on our part, there was some confusion in the past just regarding the regulation, because it was a little bit unclear to us, and it shouldn't have been, it's really our fault, but the regulation, section 3.1.4.1.2, talks about trees being planted or preserved in the front yard. And then section 3.1.4.1.5 is regarding the visual streetscape buffer. And I thought that one kind of worked with the other, but I understand now that they're not. They're two separate items that we have to address individually, and this plan that's up here on the board now does that, address them both individually and collectively. And so I think now that pretty much everything that we want to do is clearly spelled out here, and I would like to just go over that with you if you like, just to show what we've got, what we have going on and so on. So first, I'd like to talk about that first regulation having to do with the front yards of the house. Okay, so that regulation says that we either need to plant 3 trees, 3.5-inch caliper, in the front yard of each house, or in the case like when there's a wooded lot, we need to preserve at least 3 trees in the front yard of the lot. And as we understand now, the front yard of the lot doesn't include whatever land is in the streetscape buffer. So in most of the area, the proposed streetscape buffer is 30 feet. So in order to meet the regulation, once we get deeper onto the property past the 30 feet, that's where we are now going to either preserve or plant trees. Okay, so on lot number 1, the streetscape buffer is pretty heavily wooded, but it's not that deep. It really only goes about 30 feet. So we're proposing to plant 3 trees, and these are the sunset red maple trees. All the trees that look like this color, green, these are all the sunset red maples that we're proposing. So on lot number 1 in the front yard, we're proposing 3 trees. On lot number 2 and 3, those are both pretty heavily wooded in that area beyond the 30 feet. The 30 feet's heavily wooded too, but as you go beyond the 30 feet, there's a lot of trees and buffer and there too. So we put a note on the plan, and the note refers to lot number 2 and 3, and the note is right up on top there, and it basically says that we're saving, I think it says we're saving 10 trees, does it say? We're saving 10 trees, and they're at least 6-inch caliper. There's more than that on either one of those lots. So we're saving a lot of trees, and our plan shows all of our proposed clearing, and that's going to stay wooded. As we go around to lot number 4, we have a nice buffer there, but it's only about 30 feet. So we're proposing 3 trees on lot 4. Same with lot number 5, and we're proposing some others in the streetscape buffer. We'll come back to that. So there's 3 trees there in lot 5, and then also 3 trees on lot 6 and 3 trees on lot 7. So we're meeting that requirement of the 3 trees, by saving them on lot 2 and 3 and planting them on the other lots. So I believe that should satisfy that requirement. And the streetscape buffer, well, this property is kind of uniquely suited to the regulation, in many respects, because we do have this heavily wooded buffer all the way around the property. I got some pictures I'll just kind of hand out so you can see it, but here's a picture from the frontage of, I only have the one copy, I'm sorry, but those are the pictures of the frontage for lots number 1, 2, and 3, and you can see that there's a lot of woods there. And, they'll do the trick in terms of keeping a nice streetscape. If somebody's driving their car down North Granby Road, they're going to see there's a house there because there'll be a driveway, but, the house will be visually protected from the road and vice versa. The homeowner will be protected by the woods and the people driving by will be protected by the woods as well. The same condition holds as we go up Day Street and we drive by lot number 3 and lot number 4. Abby had provided some good pictures in your packet there of that frontage. Shows also the same thing, how the streetscape buffer is pretty dense in that area, very hard to see through. On lot 5, there's an area there where the farmer over the years has always used for access in and out of the field. It's maybe 200 feet wide, maybe 175 feet wide, something like that. And so there is no buffer there. It's just a hayfield right up to the road. So we're proposing on lot number 5 to plant 3 of the sunset red maples here to add to the streetscape buffer on that lot. And then when we get to lots number 6 and lot number 7, these are lots that both have wetlands in front of them. And we've had plantings that we have had a plan with the Inland Wetlands Commission as far as doing some planting there. And again, another input from this commission was, is that sufficient planting? Is it the right kind of planting to provide the kind of buffer that we want? So we've done a couple things on that. Before, we had not, we identified how many plants and we identified what the species were, but we hadn't said that which plant was going to be planted where or what was the actual planting configuration. So now we've improved this plan by creating an actual planting plan where we're identifying the species and we're identifying the location that those shrubs are going to be planted. And we've also added a significant number of the Norway spruce because, again, it was kind of pointed out that particular species is a good buffer, good visual buffer. So, so we've increased the planting in that area. And as you can see, well, one thing that had happened was we made an agreement with Inland Wetland that this area, so here's the wetlands are here where the dashed lines are. And this light green area here, where we just talked about the planting, was identified as a conservation restriction area. And so we already had, and that conservation restriction area had the same language. As a matter of fact, it was going to be in the same document as the visual landscape buffer, that it can't really be touched, just be, once it's planted, it's left alone and grow back naturally, and that's it. So to maybe make it a little bit less confusing, we increased, or we overlapped the streetscape buffer. Instead of calling it to be 30 feet on lots number 6 and 7, we've just included the whole thing that was already conservation restriction. We didn't add any more land, but we've now included that into the definition of the streetscape buffer. So this whole conservation restriction area with all these plantings add to the streetscape buffer. And then, as I pointed out before, we're doing some more planting here on lot number 6 to give them again, a little bit more buffer from the driveway. So that's, that's pretty much it with what we're doing there with the buffer. And as is pointed out in the staff comments, that the regulation about the streetscape buffer is, can be pretty restrictive depending on the interpretation of it and how it's applied. And the regulations say that the commission may reduce the depth of the streetscape buffer where conditions exist, which while preserving the streetscape, lessen the required depth of the buffer. So it goes on and lists, what kind of conditions would be appropriate for reducing the streetscape buffer. And, I feel as though our plan does meet it, the vertical and horizontal alignment of the roads. Well, in our case, the roads and the land are pretty much at the same elevation. So the idea that we're planting the buffer there, is going to work as cars go by and the buffer grows. And frankly, on all the lots but two, the buffer's already there in place. Nobody can really see the road or the house from the road or the road from the house. The quality and quantity of the existing vegetation, again, we have a lot of vegetation, and all these areas that are dark green on the plan is heavily wooded. The quality and quantity of the proposed vegetation, well, again, most of what we're proposing is there. But where we are planting it, we are trying to listen to what the commission is asking for, when it comes to satisfying that requirement. Beyond that, we don't really have any natural geological features or any man-made or historical features. So really the first three bullet points there, what we, really probably would qualify under. And, we're hoping that this buffer is going to be sufficient. It's the same one that we had talked about originally when we came in for a preliminary hearing. And, I think it's one that the town staff is comfortable with. And again, it's pointed out in the memo that there's a document that has to go onto the land records that permanently preserves this and protects it. And we've already submitted that. Document to the town, subject to review by the town attorney if or when the commission approves our application. And the next paragraph just goes on to say this, like I said, these comments were made before we revised the plan. So this paragraph about the planting in the lots in the staff comments, that's what we just went over. We addressed that. Now we've taken everything that was suggested and kind of applied it to the plans. Talk about easements. And there's several easements. The shared driveway maintenance easement, that's been done. It's got to be modified again, which we'll do shortly, sent to the town for the town attorney. The visual streetscape buffer, that's already been done. That's been already turned in for the town attorney. Drainage easement has been sent in as well, unrestricted right to drain. So that's pretty much all done. There's some kind of housekeeping as far as the comments below, such as making a change to the zoning compliance table, which we've done on the plans. The subdivision regulation regarding the 3 trees, we've done that, that's on the plans. Talking about the lots, again, we've done that, A, B, C, and D. We've added the VPP. We kind of enhanced the ability to read it by changing some of our labeling. Item number 4 talks about subdivision regulations. Side lot lines shall generally be at right angles to the street line. And staff points out that the lot lines for lots number 1 and 3 are not at right angles, but because of the configuration of the land to begin with and the abutting property owners couldn't really do a right angle. You know, we have a property here that doesn't have a right angle to begin with on North Granby Road, either corner, so we can't comply, so we made it as close to that as we could. There's a question though regarding the property line between lot number 4 and 5, and then perhaps 5 and 6 also. Just says should be examined to determine if the lines can be arranged to comply with the subdivision regulation, and that is as close to a 90-degree as possible. So you can see there that the way this is laid out, the line here between all these lots, 4 and 3, 4 and 5, 5 and 6, they all are generally at a 90-degree angle. And I think the question that has been raised is, once they enter the property and we go in about 250 feet or so, something like that, lot number 4 and 5 kind of angle off. Yes, sir.
You have that overlay that I prepared.
Yeah, I have it. Well, yeah. So we feel like these lots, the way they're laid out right now, are suitable. And as Mr. Alford just pointed out, and you know the sheet that you had up in the beginning, the colored one?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So we did a study to address that concern, and we showed the lot configuration as it complies with the underlying 50,000 R50 zone. And you can see that all 3 of these lots, the front portion where the houses are going to go, where the 175-foot square is, they all are generally at right angles to to Day Street. But we have this excess land that, you know, we'd like to give lot number 4 excess land. So that's why we kind of tilted it a little bit. And the same with lot number 5. We'd like to give them the excess land to make lot number 4 a 2-acre lot as opposed to a 1 1/4 acre lot, which we could do and meet the regulations. But this excess land we feel like would be appropriate to use it for lot 4. It makes it better, makes it nicer, lets them go back all the way to the field. And you see we meet that requirement. So you can put that other green plan back on there again. And so we feel that this is an appropriate layout because it does give the property owners of lot 4 and, well, especially lot 4. I mean, if we squared them off, lot 5 would be bigger. That would become like a 2.5 acre lot, and lot 4 would become like a, I don't know, 1 1/4 acre lot or something like that. But we feel this is a better use of the land, makes a lot 4 a lot nicer for the future buyer. Especially because lot number 4 is suitable for a walkout basement, and when you have that walkout basement configuration, it really is nice to be able to have that extra land there as you're using your walkout lower area, and to be able to have it go out all the way to the woods. Again, the back of these lots are all woods. So, you know, we're suggesting that this is the appropriate layout. You know, we're professionals. Mr. Alford's a professional. We laid it out in a way that we think is the best use of the land, and hopefully you guys see it that way as well. And number 5, that's no issue with that, you know, as far as putting the placards on. So I guess that's it, you know, in terms of what we have to say. I'm sure you probably have a lot of questions, and we're happy to try to answer them.
Let me just address the drainage on the neighbor's property there.
Oh, would you like to learn more about the drainage onto the neighbor's property?
Sure.
For the record, I'm Wilson Alford Jr., registered as a professional engineer and land surveyor, office at 200 Pigeon Hill Road in Windsor. On lot number 1, Lot number one is the one on North Granby Road. As Kirk pointed out, up in the sort of upper right-hand corner of it is a rain garden. It's a depression. We have it excavated out, and so that there's an area to hold water. There's also an infiltrator at the bottom of it. The soils on the whole piece of property are very well drained. They have a high permeability. This lot in particular has a permeability of about 5 minutes per inch. When we dug the test holes, there was no evidence of groundwater, and there was no evidence of ledge, so that the water will go back into the ground. In the early part of the design, we recognized that we could have concern, the neighbors could have a concern with water going onto their property. So we do have the rain garden there. Basically, there's a ridge through the middle of the house, sort of to the top of the sheet, which is to the east. The driveway water goes out to the street, and from about the middle of the house, that heads over to the south, and that's where the rain garden is. And there's a note on the drawing that says, when we finally figure out exactly how big the house is, and this is something that Kevin wanted, when the actual house is sized, the final design of the infiltrator, the rain garden, will be done when we know how big the house is and how much water will be generated by it. So we were concerned, the same concern the neighbor has, and we addressed it with the initial design. And if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I would like to add one more thing, too. I just want to point out that the town engineer had made comments dated July 17th, and we received an email from the town engineer today saying that his comments are all satisfied. You probably have that in your package, but I just wanted to make sure that you knew that there were no outstanding engineering questions, even though we had some back in July 17th. Thank you.
Okay. All right, well, we'll get started then. I'll start by offering that.
I want to say I did not attend the last meeting, but I did watch on the TV, so
Very good.
I'm up to speed.
Thank
Same
you.
with me.
Thank you. Yeah. Want to offer that I do note from the last meeting to tonight's meeting, there has been significant progress made towards addressing some of the issues that the commission raised, chiefly the shared driveway situation and the interpretation of our reg with regard to what constitutes a shared driveway and how many lots it can sit on. Also, I see that the plantings have been addressed. I think we'll leave it to some future discussion and board commission comment, as well as Abby, to determine if what has been added meets the requirement. It does look like it may. But I'll offer that the commission is receiving a ton of information here very, very late. The package that we've all read and received up until just a few hours ago didn't have a lot of the information that was offered tonight. So I do feel at a little bit of a disadvantage right now. And I'm going to ask Abby, before we open it up for commissioner comments, a lot of information. We received our engineer's sign off.
Yep.
But I don't know if that sign off means that all the plans with regard to the comments have been updated for legends and changes. I mean, just tonight in person, revised plans were addressed that, dare I say, you didn't even see?
I did see them today.
Or you did see them?
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure. We'll open it up for commissioner discussion and questioning here in a moment, but I'm not quite sure what that means for our ability to be able to absorb and address this tonight. So what are your thoughts with regard to the progress that's been made?
Yeah, so the plans that were presented tonight, as the applicant walked through them, they do address most of the outstanding comments. However, I think there are really the two that I think the commission should really discuss and consider further, obviously in addition to whatever else is identified, really the streetscape buffer reduction, and also the regulation about the lot dimensions and the side lot lines. But aside from those two, Everything else does comply at this point. But in terms of having it all packaged up and ready to go.
Okay, all right. Let's take take those issues on, and then we can talk about, again, open it up for comments. So first of all, it is within the code to offer a reduction in the streetscape buffer. In response to that request, we asked for some plantings, which were initially not in the initial plans. So those have been provided, some additional plantings. Let's take that one on first. Do you believe, if you had the opportunity to see this before we did, do they meet the minimum requirements as outlined in the code?
So in terms of, and again, so two distinct issues, adding the 3 trees in the front yard, yes. In terms of the depth of the streetscape buffer and what is proposed, looking at the existing vegetation, I do think there's room for additional enhancement there. But again, that's my interpretation of it, and ultimately it's what you as the commission think is appropriate along that stretch.
So before we move on to the other issue, why don't we take that to commissioner question and comment for the applicant? Eric?
Yeah, okay, I do have some questions. I have walked the site, not the entire site. I've focused mainly on Day Street. And I was struck by how much of the trees along the road there are a little bit problematic. They are what I would call on the invasive plant list of the state of Connecticut. And they have been for many years. And in either 2028 or 27, they will be permanently banned for sale in the state of Connecticut. Nurseries will not be able to sell them at all. So I raise it because if this plan were to be adopted, we would in effect be preserving a tremendous amount of vegetation that would not be available to anybody to buy. To me, it's an issue that it is an invasive plant. It is a popular plant. Many people have examples of Norway maples in their yards. They are hardy, they're tough, and they're often pretty. I have one. I didn't buy it, but when I bought the house, it was there. It's a nice tree. It's called the Crimson King. But I raised the issue simply because the tendency of these trees is to shed an awful lot of seeds, just lots and lots. And while for many years this land was hayed, and that would have taken care of the proliferation of seedlings, that's not going to be true. So what I worry about a bit is all of this land is going to be subject to an annual showering of Norway maple seeds. And they're kind of hard to control. If you're really diligent, you can pull them up when you see them, but it's kind of a problem. So I do raise that. I am pleased, Mr. McNaughton, to see that you've gone with the suggestion of getting some red sunset maples. They're a good tree. I guess I am not entirely clear on why there are none proposed to be planted on lots 2 and 3, but I guess we can discuss that later. What I really, as I went through all of the materials that I reviewed before coming here tonight, what I really wanted to suggest is, in my walking around on that land out there, it's really, it's not really at all flat. It's kind of rolling. I mean, it's very pretty, but your viewpoint changes if you move 50 feet. And what I would really like to do is to go out there, have marked the sites of all these potential driveways, and have the property, boundary corners marked and and where the house is going to be marked and where these various trees that you've got are going to be planted. We, as a zoning commission, we only get one chance to do this right. And then the people who live there and their successors and the rest of the people in town get to drive by for the next 100, 200 years. And they gotta live with what we did or what we failed to do. So I'm hoping that we can have a commission meeting out there available to the public, and we can really walk around and figure out where this stuff should be. For instance, I understand that you've got 7 lots here, but when I look at it, it occurs to me that you could forget about lot 7 and you forget about lot 3. They seem to me to kind of be jammed into the corner. We have had relationships with developers before where we have suggested, do you really need to have every maximum lot you squeeze in? I would really hope that you, Mr. McNaughton, and your team would consider dropping a couple of lots somehow. I think it would be much more acceptable to the town of Granby, and I think it would be a very nice thing for the people who live there. They're going to be living in a nice place. But I'd try and be a little flexible on that one. And I have a bunch more specific comments. One of them is, the Norway spruce. You got a provision to plant 28 Norway, I think it says 28, my vision's not so hot, but 28 Norway spruce, 18 inches high. I have some experience in planting trees 18 inches high, and I got to tell you, plant an 18-inch high tree, if you don't take an awful lot of care of it, surrounding vegetation often outcompetes them, and they don't make it. They die. A Norway spruce is not a native plant. It's from Norway. Yes, they get nice and tall, and they're hardy, and they're pretty, but they're being planted in a wetland area, and if it were up to me, I would suggest considering a swamp white oaks instead. They're much more tolerant of wet conditions, and you're not going to get them at 18 inches either. You'd have to get them bigger than that. But I don't think you'd have to plant 28 of them either. Well, that's just a suggestion, and I guess I would have to confess that I don't think that members of the Planning and Zoning Commission should be dictating to anybody what they should plant. You and your team are free to propose whatever you want, and we'll evaluate it. But my reaction is, I'm not sure that we ought to go with a non-native, nor do we have to. There's other ways to do it. So that's kind of what I think about the number of lots now. I'd reduce it some, and I would have us all get out there and we can walk around and talk about where the trees should be planted and how many and that kind of thing. So that's my contribution for now. Thank you.
So I went out and avoided the traffic today. I drive by there quite often, so I hardly call any of that a good buffer. It's 30 feet. It's, I think, a little small. I think there has to be a justification of why it's only 30 feet. I'm not so sure whether that's been explained to us, other than you need it for your setback, especially probably in number 3. I think a buffer that should be natural. There is an area as you go towards the north that is a decent buffer, but there's other things that you say are buffers. They're not buffers. It's kind of junk stuff growing. When I go into and walk and I look into the wood, that's a buffer. You have all sorts of different plants growing, different sizes, some low, some high. Not a lot of weeds, and a lot of that is weeds and not tree of heaven, but something like tree of heaven, and I don't consider that a buffer. So I think you need to redefine what is a buffer, how far it should be, and what you want in there. And I know you want it to be natural, and that certain part, it can be natural, probably don't even need to add too many things to it. But from there on south, it's nothing about a buffer says buffer to me. So that would be my suggestion is the width and what's in it. And I agree with Eric. I have a beautiful Norway maple. It drives me crazy. I've got several of them growing now where they don't need to grow. I need to get somebody agile enough to get in and pull them up. We mow them in our lawn. It's a beautiful tree. It was there long before we were there. But I think your point of they're going to be up all over. It's not mowed. It's a very good point. Okay, Eric?
How about- So this is a question for Eric. How developed are the Norway maples that are already there? Are you proposing that we require them to take out like 20-year-old?
No, I'm not proposing that. It would be a huge job to take them out. I walked through them on the Day Street side. I didn't even do it on the other side. It's probably 90% Norway maples. There's one nice big oak, and there are some hickories. There are also some staghorn sumacs, which is a native, but a lot of people don't like staghorn sumacs. It's a matter of taste in trees, kind of. I don't know. But to me, if you went in and cut down all of those trees, you would be left with a radically different thing, and it would.
Right. So I don't know how we address that then if they're already there.
They're already there. It's
Yeah.
kind of a tough one. It really is. I mean, in a way, it's almost like, well, you got to educate homeowners, and
Yeah,
it's,
understood.
yeah.
Yeah, to build on that, so if they're already there, can you supplement with anything? Like to make it more aesthetically pleasing or less invasive?
Part of the
I mean,
problem with
take
adding
over.
anything to Norway maples
Yeah.
is they have a shallow root system and they produce an incredible amount of shade. Almost nothing will grow underneath them. So you can't really go in and spike in a few different things. In front of them, where you have a sunny area, you could plant various other kinds of trees, and usually new homeowners do that. I remember when we developed Granby Farms many years ago, it was pretty much treeless. But if you go in there now, there are a lot of trees because a lot of homeowners have taken it upon themselves to plant something.
Okay. I also agree that in lots 2 and 3, it would be nice. I think 11 new maples were put from the plan we got to here. But it would be nice to have that continuity of having the trees in each yard. I think it would be nice for the people living there too. And then native plants, I think, are desirable over ones that are not.
I also question the size of the buffer and why the 30 feet. It doesn't seem adequate looking at the pictures and driving by. Looks like there could definitely be more there. And I'll leave the species of plants up there.
And stuff that's not.
Yeah, coming into this evening, not seeing the revised plans, I definitely had some concern over the planting PPP plan, but as the applicant has presented it tonight, I really think he's stepped up the plan itself. He's added the trees, the 3 trees per front yard, which I think, Abby, meets the regulation. So, the existing, the Norway maples, I really don't have a problem with it. They've been there they're very mature trees. They've been hanging out for quite a few decades. I don't think it's a problem with the applicant to have to change the tree species whatsoever. As a property owner that would own the property, I think they'll be maintaining all of their open space, because that's what we all fight for every single year during the growing season. So I don't think the regeneration of the Norway from the massive amount of seeds would be an issue moving forward. So I think the applicant has kind of met the regulations, and I'm actually, he did a good presentation and pretty content with it at this point.
So I want to summarize a few things that I've heard down the table here and then possibly ask, the applicant a few other questions. Knowing the clarification that Abby provided about the required plantings in the front yard versus the buffer, in hearing some critical feedback about the quality and the size of the buffer, the buffer requirement here is based on the lot size, it is exceptionally large, and I believe it's a staggering 350 feet, which is somewhat not appropriate in this application. So reducing it is certainly within our purview and certainly recommended. But is 30 too small, I suppose? I've heard some pros, I've heard some cons. Going down to 30 was a generous reduction, and we didn't have a lot of time to discuss it at the last meeting because we continued. So I don't want to throw arbitrary numbers out there, but should it be 50? Should it be something that affords a little bit more of a buffer? I throw that out, and I guess I would ask the applicant, is there a willingness, if there was an opportunity, not recommending yet at this point, that we would continue this meeting upon your request, but would there be an opportunity to possibly consider increasing the depth of that buffer and adding plantings to the buffer that are in addition to the front yard plantings, which were required, which I believe you successfully have met the requirement. So that would be number one. Number two, let's move on to the angularity of the lot lines and the changes that were made. And I'll start, and then again, I'd like to go down the line and get some feedback. What the applicant did, what you did by showing that particular print, which I'm not sure was in our package, where you show the R30, R50 lot fitting within the existing designations largely before the angles changes. It was a unique view that I appreciated. But however, with that, if you can go back to the colored plan again, that one there, it just strikes me, while you've done a great job here fixing the driveway problem, and that required you to add some land to lot 6 in your goal to try to maintain the size of 4 and 5, it sure looks like to me that you could kick those houses over respectably, and when I say houses, 3 and 4, over to the left. And while it may feel minor, it sure feels like you could straighten out the first legs of both the lot line between 4 and 5 and 5 and 6 with minimal compromise before you started your dog legs, which now I appreciate why you did it, and I'm comfortable with, especially showing the fitting of what could have happened there had you gone an R50 approach. So I don't know, maybe it's a distinction without a difference. I'm going to open my thoughts up to the others, but there is quite a bit of language in our coding when subdivisions come before us for them to be orderly, and I'll add to that, just general terms of neat and tidiness and orderly. And while not all lots can be perfect rectangles or squares, understood, you manage with the original lot size and topography, it certainly seems like there are at least 2 glaring things on there that could be fixed. In your original plan, those lines were straight. So I would offer possibly, again, if there's an opportunity to continue trying to address that. And also, before we go on, we've always had a good opportunity for this commission to have healthy debate, and I appreciated Eric Lukenbeel's commentary around the number of lots and possible some compromise. I just wanted to offer a juxtaposition to that colleague, Eric, that the density of this lot could be much more at our 50/30. So I do believe great compromise has been given with regard to the number of houses on this lot, and it could be arguably much denser if you just take a look at the map that's presented to you and look at the housing development that's on Kearns, as well as continuing up North Granby Road. I believe those lots, at least the Kearns Drive lots there, are certainly look like there are R30s. So you could see that on a portion of this lot. I think what's been done is more desirable than what I see on Kearns Drive. So that's just an observation. So with that, Eric, you're up. Let's talk about the angular lot lines.
I guess I find it hard to be in a position to lose sleep over the angularity of the lines. I just don't. I mean, I'm so,
That's great.
it is, that's where I am.
Paula?
I feel the same way. And if you look at it, if it were the smaller lots, they could almost be nice and square, except maybe 3, but it doesn't, that's not one of the things I would be concerned about.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not overly concerned with not having perfectly rectangular lots. It doesn't bother me. And it appears, despite my concerns about shared driveways, it appears that they've met the regulation. So it's not really our business to intrude. I mean, this could be a denser development than it is, but.
Meg?
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, once the overlay's on there, it doesn't look as bad as it
Yeah,
does on
exactly.
this page right here. So
Yeah, I
I'm
concur.
okay with it.
Yeah, I have no problem with the way that's laid out at this point. And it makes sense. Lot 4, the applicant talked about how that's a walkout potential lot, and I can see why you would want to have a larger backyard, to
Right.
more backyard for families to play. I'm all on board with that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So to put some closure on that, Abby, I know what the reg said coming into this meeting. I read the appropriate citations about the neat orderly developments and whatnot, but it clearly gives us some latitude regarding topography and existing lots. So now that the driveway has been fixed, is this a potential pass for, not flying in the face of the spirit of the
Right,
regulation?
so it says zone, or subdivision regulation, section 3.2.5, side lot line shall generally be at right angles to street lines.
Yeah.
So,
There is some wiggle room.
Generally.
Love regs. Yeah. All right, I think we've tackled the two most questions. So now, before I open it up to public comment, and we'll certainly circle back to the commission, any other additional comments or observations for the applicant while they're standing there before we move to?
Well, I just wanted to at least raise the issue with my fellow commissioners and with the applicant as to whether we're okay with getting together on the site to take a look at everything kind of laid out, so we can do a really thorough job and be sensitive to things that may not be apparent from just looking at plans.
So this is, as long as I've been on the commission, which is a much shorter duration, some of the more tenured commission members here today, is that, and only having a few subdivisions come before me, is that a reasonable requirement to do, we would have to notice and have a public
Yeah.
meeting on site, is that?
We've done that
Is that?
Yeah, we've done
We've
it.
done that
Yeah,
before.
we have.
We did it for the pickleball
Yeah.
place.
We did it for
Yeah.
pickleball.
Yeah,
done it
well, I
in the
know we've
past.
done it,
Yeah.
but in this
We did it
particular
off Peck
instance.
Orchard. We did it off Peck Orchard Road
Yeah.
for some gravel removal. and
Because to
lining.
meet the spirit of your request, you've asked for corners to be pinned,
Yeah,
you've
like-
asked for tree locations.
Yeah,
Is that within,
driveways and tree locations.
is that within our purview to request such activity?
we have not done that since I've been here for a subdivision, but it's up to the applicant if they would be willing to entertain that. But I don't think it could be required necessarily.
Well, let's hear from the applicant.
It'd be nice to know what the driveways.
If I may just add it, I disagree with having to go do a site walk on this property. I've been out there Day Street, been driving by it for many, many years, and I think what the applicant has presented tonight is readable, it's understandable. I don't think there's anything missing that I don't see tonight, so I think it'd be unnecessary.
In this particular, if this was a heavily wooded site and it was hard to see it, to your point, I can understand some of the concerns. I don't want to be, critical of any other board members' thoughts or opposite, but I believe I have enough, but I'm open to suggestions and would do it if the applicant was willing. But I asked the question specifically if what was within our purview.
Yeah, so it can't be required, and we're also running up against 35 days, so the applicant would have to grant an extension as well.
Robert?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's difficult. You almost wonder if it might make more sense to have some sort of computer-generated thing, which I don't know that we can require either, that would just show us what this thing's gonna look like when you see the actual houses on it. So you get a sense of what people are actually gonna be seeing from Bay Street. But,
Like a 3D rendering.
yeah, exactly. But I don't know that we can require that either. I mean, there's nothing in the regs.
No, and the other thing is, and just to be clear, when the commission approves a subdivision, the house locations are approximate. Certainly footprints can change when folks come in with an actual plot plan, so.
They just have to meet the setback requirements.
Correct,
So the house can
and
move
stay, general location in terms of relation to proposed well and
And
septic.
a lot of that's
So-
decided too, as the building continues, as the lots are made out, houses might move from side, yeah.
Right,
That can
so
Driveways will stay the same though, so. Right?
those should, yes, especially given where the streetscape buffer is,
Yeah.
because that does box in where the driveways could go.
Do they need state approval on the state road?
Yes, yep, and that was actually one of the reasons why the driveway for Lot 3 got moved onto Day Street.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Was
because that's an
because of
awful
sight
driveway.
lines.
That's a
Yes.
terrible, terrible. Worst one in town, I think.
Yeah, so certainly when those driveways go in,
Yeah.
formal permitting through DOT will be required for those.
Right, the driveway for number 3, being on Day Street just makes that, much more safe and
Oh, yeah.
user-friendly lot, so it's, I don't see, I would just question, what are we gonna gain by going out there? I mean, if houses can be moved, if sizes of the houses can be changed, how do you really know what you're screening with 3 trees or 6 trees? It's just-
Well, I would be willing to forego a visit on this lot.
Well, it sounds to me like you guys can live without it. So let me hear. I think I can sort of withdraw my request. I think Mr. McNaughton would be willing to talk with me now and then on some of these tree issues that I may have.
Yeah, well, I'm going to ask you some questions right now too, they might be able to help
No,
with, so.
that would be fine, go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah,
Go
but no,
ahead.
I'm always happy to do that anyway.
Yeah, okay, now that'd be good. That'd be fine, and then we don't all have to go out as the commission.
Yeah, and my streetscape depth, you can, on some of these areas, add some plantings on the interior of the streetscape to add to what's there, so that it might not be as thorough as we might like. So that would be another option.
Well, a lot of it looks like a hedgerow to me.
Yeah.
A typical field hedgerow,
Yeah.
it's really not a streetscape, it's
Yeah.
really not,
Yeah.
not a buffer.
Yeah.
It's more of a farm field.
Yeah.
That has been overgrown and not maintained.
Yeah.
Especially Lot 3, I know the requirement requires the streetscape to be in the front, and that's what you've done, but this is a corner, and, it doesn't look like there was any care or attention to addressing the streetscape on Day Street for Lot 3.
Yeah.
I was curious about that too, the little narrow
Yeah,
strip.
who owns that little narrow strip?
Oh, that's that
That's a
awful
home there.
house.
There's a
That's
house
that
there.
awful house that you
that's-
can't see when you go on.
That's the one
They got a fence, around
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So that's not really streetscape there.
Turn onto.
Right.
So there's a house.
Yeah, it should,
Yeah.
yeah. There's a house there.
Yeah, there's an existing house.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a
Alright.
house there.
Alright.
That's not the
I
street.
just found it on
Yeah.
Pointer here.
I'll
Well,
withdraw.
there you go.
Yes.
That makes more sense.
I see it now.
Yeah.
I see it now. I apologize about that. I'm good. Side. You can't deal with the
Yeah,
house
buffer
there.
that.
We'd love to get rid of the house.
So before we get into, more detailed discussions and negotiations on species of trees, if we were to ask you to consider an extension, would you be willing to increase, we might make it a requirement that you increase the buffer.
Yeah, well, we want to work with you, yeah, so, of course.
Considering we're giving,
Yeah.
a very generous reduction, it seems like there might be some reasonable compromise. I don't know that we're prepared to be arbitrary about it and just say 50 feet, but I, for one, would like you to come back with a proposal. I think you've gotten over most of, if not all of the hurdles except that one. There's been a lot of dialogue about the quality of the hedgerow, the species of non-native trees that are in the buffer. We've seen the pictures. I agree, the houses on Route 29 are the vegetation, existing vegetation there. The pictures that you brought tonight is very dense, but the Day Street vegetation needs some work. It needs some augmentation for the buffer, and I, for one, would want to see that. And I see no reason why we can't continue the discussion on trees either tonight, or I think the applicants heard you loud and clear, Eric, about native species and augmentation, and maybe some different choices in the marshy wetlands that might be more viable in the long run, that are 18 inches is a small tree, a small shrub, a container shrub, very economical, I understand, but not prone to success.
Bittersweet will take it over in a year.
Yes, it'll climb up it and bring it down. So I would offer that maybe you take another crack at the buffer and some of the recommendations, and I think you're there. So,
Yeah. I'm going to ask.
yep. And we're going to go to public comment here very shortly. So if there's and I'll ask Abby to guide us on this, we have run out of time for our ability to, this commission to keep the public hearing open at our request. The next move has to be your request. So you would be faced with two choices tonight, to allow us to vote on it, which you'd be rolling the dice on, or to request an extension. So I offer that to you.
Well, like I said, we want to work with you folks, so, you know.
Well, you
we're
have,
happy-
and you've shown that.
you know, we're happy to that extension, and we obviously would like to see it extend a reasonable time, you know, as not a really, really long time, but definitely happy to work to try to figure out what we need to do and could do it, you know?
Oh, well, that's appreciated. So with that, I'm going to call for public comment, and then we're going to invite you back up, and we'll have some additional discussion, and then we'll, ask for you to request an extension. So.
Okay, that's fine.
Is there any member of the public here tonight that would like us to speak on this application?
Good evening.
If you'd, your
Yes.
name and your address, please.
Excuse me. My name is Dana Warren, and I am at 10 Day Street South. I have 5 points. I'll keep them brief. The number one point I have about the application, and just a sidebar for a moment, is I do believe it would be nice for the public to see, particularly the neighbors, to see the recent information. So I do appreciate an extension of the hearing so that some of the neighborhood were able to look at it. So back to my first point, has to do with topography and grading. And that's directly related to my second point, which is about the developable area of subdivision lots. So section 3.2.7 talks about the contiguous area of developable lots. And this actually ties into the other topics as well, such as the perpendicular lines and how many lots will fit on this property. Also ties directly into Mr. Lukenbiel's comment about the slopes on the property. This is not a flat site. This site has a significant amount of slopes that are over 20%. And I personally disagree with the chart that was provided about the lot summary, where in particular lot 3 says that there's no slopes over 20%. So when that blue picture was presented, I do believe that failed to take into account the requirements of needing to avoid wetlands and 20% slopes. So let me return to my initial point of the topography and grading. I think it would behoove everyone to see how those calculations were made, that it's typically around 2,000 or 3,000 square feet of each property that has some sloped area. But when I look at it, I'm seeing significantly a lot more of these lengthy slopes, more than 50 feet long, in particular on the open space area. And more than half of that is supposed to be free of wetlands and slopes. So it would just be nice to see how those numbers were calculated. And so not only are they significantly sloped, but then around the properties where the grade lines have been adjusted, that's that density of lines, these grades have been pushed away in order to suit the homes to much steeper grading. And I'm not sure that that's, I know the town engineer apparently has signed off on, he has to remove some swales and remove some long steep swale grades. But it's something to think about. So that falls directly in my second point, which is this developable area. So one of the stipulations in a developable area regulation is that the home, the building, the dominant building shall set within that developable area. So in at least 2 or 3 of these sites, in particular, 4, the house is sitting right on the most steeply graded portion. So that doesn't meet that section of the regulation. And in their chart, it even states that there's some 20% grading. And all you have to do with a blind eye is look at where's the grading most dense, the existing grading, the grayer lines, and you'll see that they've stuck the house right on top of it. In lot number 2, where the trees are kind of cupped there, the cap of that hill has been removed, and then about 4 feet or so of that is moved in fill in order to site the house. So that's number 1, reduce the buffer, and number 2, reduce trees that at the last hearing was stated that no trees are being removed, but there are patches on every property of trees cleared in order to suit the homes, the grading, and the septic systems. So again, they're impacting and affecting that 20% or steeper grade in order to fit the homes in here and in order to have developable area. They're just really close on all of these numbers, really close enough. And if there's an ounce of doubt, I think the numbers don't work. So sure, 5 or less houses here, then you know what? Then you can do straight lot lines. You can have clear areas free of these steep grades. So I've kind of jumped on to point 3 is trees. And I'm glad to feel heard by the commission from my comment last meeting about this buffer, and that I would agree to some of the comments tonight that when you drive by it, as I do on a regular basis, it may be labeled densely wooded, but you can see through. You can see through to the fields. And when that's being reduced in many of these areas, particularly for these 2 neighbors, the 2 neighbors that moved in next to a field, not next to tight clearing. So these points all come to the point of it could be worse, it could be more dense. Personally, I don't believe it could be because of the grading and of this developable area requirement. I think you'd be hard pressed to find something that makes it more dense. So my 4th point is about the perpendicularity of the lot lines. And again, it is possible to do generally perpendicular lot lines. You just need less lots. And my 5th and last point is one, I would like to see an agreement that if the state is not on board with 2 new driveways, 2 new curb cuts on 189, that approval of whatever plan goes through does not then condone moving driveways onto Day Street. Does that make sense how I'm stating it? So in other words, if the state says no way, because we do know that is a particularly dangerous area of 189, and the visibility is horrid off of the end of Day Street, but that they couldn't come back, and that would mean that those 2 lots or 2 lots would cease to exist as building lots if the state can't approve workable driveways for them. So.
Well, they would have to make a request to us. They couldn't just automatically constrict driveways.
So the driveways, it requires state approval.
Right.
This commission cannot condition a subdivision approval you can approve with modifications to address the regulations.
Right, but if the state didn't approve the driveways on 189, they would have to come back to us to get permission to put them on Day Street. Is
Most likely, yes.
Yes.
If that was
So,
even possible.
yeah, if it was even possible to do it.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, that would be my question too, because I know oftentimes it's, okay, now we've got this approved, so hey, now I have an approved lot, and guess what? Now I need a variance to fit something,
They would have to come back.
Yeah, okay, great. Thank you. That's
Thank you.
all I have. Anything else? That's, okay.
Thank you so much for the comments.
You're welcome.
Any other comments from the room?
Hi, I'm Susan Quartermunch, 184 Day Street. And I just had a question on whether there's been a study if the water table in that area will support 7 new wells. No.
We'll let you comment when we're all done with the public. When we're done.
Okay, thank you.
All right, do you see anybody on Zoom?
No.
Okay. Okay. All right, well then, so we're going to keep the public comment open, barring, assuming we're going to get a request. So if the applicant would like to come up, and you're welcome to address anything that you heard or not, or of your choice.
Yeah, thank you. I do have some questions. I admit that I may not really be up on my trees and shrubbery as much as some of the commission members, so I'm a little bit, I guess I'd say for myself, I'm confused. I'm really unclear of, exactly what it is that we're trying to accomplish. So I'd like to utilize this time while we're here to get a little more specific, because I'm happy to try to address, like I think I showed, we did a lot of plans. We added, I don't know, 20 more spruce trees and 12 or 15, 20, I don't know what, of the red sunset maples, which I thought you wanted. And we had a bunch of Norway spruce, which at the last meeting, I heard Norway spruce over and over again. So, I gave you a bunch of Norway spruce, but now we don't like the Norway spruce. So I want to know exactly what you guys want, but I'd like to really start with a couple of questions. I don't know what the invasive species that we're talking about, is it a Norway maple?
Yeah, it's
Oh, where are those? What are those?
all over the place.
Well, are they big trees?
Yeah, some of them are big, some of them are not big, but they're extremely
The bi-
common.
But you're talking about the big maple trees that are, that provide most of the buffer?
A lot of them are in fact Norway maples. That you can tell, there's two ways to tell a Norway maple. One of them is the leaves are generally wider than they are tall. The second way is if you pull the leaf off the stem, off the twig, you can see a teeny little bit of milky white sap come out of the base of the leaf.
Okay, well, so, we've got heavily wooded areas, here,
Yep.
here, like from here around to here is all heavily wooded with trees that are 40 or 50 feet high, and they're calipers of 12 inches, 15 inches. They're big trees, and they're smaller trees.
Yep.
But to me, I don't think it would be reasonable to ask me to go in and start taking woods that have been there for, like we said before, the owner, they've owned this property for over 100 years. These trees, some of them are probably over 100 years old. So, it doesn't really make sense to me to say, oh, let's cut down all these trees because they're invasives when they've been there for 100 years already,
I hope there's no misunderstanding.
No, we never said that. We never said that.
Well, that's what I'm trying to clarify, because
Yeah, I brought the topic up of these Norway maples. I am not advocating for cutting them all
I
down.
said that.
Okay.
And we clarified.
And we clarified that.
Well, my mistake. I'm trying to listen to everything and take
Okay, I
notes
know.
and,
I think the focus should be a revised proposal that increases the depth of the streetscape and augments what's there with additional species which are native.
Okay. Another question I have that would be helpful for me. Like we said, we talked about the heavy woods are all around here to about this point, from here to there. And there is actually a little cluster here with maybe 8 big trees, something like that right here. There's eight trees that are,
Something like that, yeah.
yeah, they're big. They're 40 feet tall, and some have 10-inch calipers, some might be a little bit smaller. But I think the area where the pictures are being taken, and I think the area where the commission is voicing a concern is once you get past this area and you're parking on Day Street and you're looking here, this is the area, I think, and I think that points out in the letter.
Let's just be clear,
It's the whole thing.
it's lots 4 and 5.
Oh, it's lots 4 and 5.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so you're okay, oh, lots 4 and 5, all right. Yeah, so you're saying we should just have more planting?
Increase the depth
of the buffer.
to something that makes sense in proportion to the lot.
Yeah,
And it's aesthetically really pleasing.
Yes, thank you, Meg, yes.
yeah,
I don't think you have a lot of work to do here.
okay.
And-
Mr. McNaught.
Sorry, just a clarification, there was a comment about looking at the wetland plantings and perhaps increasing 18-inch to something else, correct?
And considering a species change, but
That was the Norway spruce. The Norway spruce you have listed to plant in the wetlands buffering area are only 18 inches tall. I have to question that whether or not you're going to be able to plant them and have them actually grow because they will have to compete with existing vegetation. And it's a little bit of a struggle for a tree to get going. 18 inches is not very big. I mean, you're going to
It's
barely
knee-
be able to
it's barely
see
knee
them.
high.
So you think,
That's why I had
It's very-
suggested that instead of Norway spruce, which is not a native plant, there is a species of oaks that are available in the market
hang on,
called swamp white oak.
yeah, right, I wrote that down.
I think you wrote that down. And those would be fine to plant in an area that gets wet. It's an
And they're better in the wetlands too, you said.
Yeah, they do fine in wetlands. We have planted them in the Arboretum at Holcomb Farm in a wet area. They're doing
Taken
fine.
up.
And you could get them as, 1.5, 2.5 inch caliper trees. Maybe you can find some 3.5. But they grow pretty fast and they're a very attractive tree.
So you're suggesting that in the wetland buffer area, instead of the Norway spruce, a more appropriate species would be the white swamp, oak,
Swamp white oak, yeah,
white swamp oak. That's what you said?
swamp white oak.
Swamp white oak.
That'd be my suggestion. You are free really to consult with we've got some very knowledgeable, O'Brien Nursery, Mr. O'Brien is a very knowledgeable guy. Don Ford at Stonegate Gardens on Bushy Hill Road is also a nice, very knowledgeable guy. I'm sure that they would have suggestions. And when I say swamp white oak, that's just one suggestion. There are other trees that do fine in situations where they may get wetter than other trees.
So I'm hearing species, we're open.
We're open,
Bigger
yeah.
trees
Okay,
that are more
so,
likely to stay.
so 6 and 7 are okay the way they are, more or less. I mean, I'm not asking for approval, but I mean, nobody's really concerned about 6 or 7. And then along North Granby Road, are we looking for something bigger or more? Or, because see, some people like front yards too, and so we're encroaching on their front yards because some people like that nice lawn and they have a lot of pride in their ownership of their lawn. So the more we put that buffer in, the less lawn they have, so it's kind of a delicate thing, but I'm happy to
I
do-
wasn't offended with the amount of tree cover that, as demonstrated in those pictures that was on North Granby Road. It really was the observation about the fact that there's a 175-foot to 200-foot clearing that was used for haying and whatnot, as well as the quality of the buffer that's there today is marginal. So maybe do some work in that area.
Okay. Okay, well, I think that was the big item that was outstanding, no?
Yep.
For the most part?
There were two questions raised by members of the public. One was a statement that the slope exceeded 20% in some places.
Well, that shows right on the plan itself, right on the very first page.
So
It's small though. I mean, the biggest one I think is lot number 5 has like maybe 7,000 square feet. But on a lot that's 2.5 acres, 90,000 square feet or 100,000 square feet, I forget the exact square footage, but that would be less than 10% of that lot would have a steep slope. We're still got plenty of
Right.
good usable land.
But is the house sited on the steep slope? I think that was the implication.
Well, that was commented on lot number 4.
Yeah.
And it was set up that way on purpose because that's a walkout basement. So
Okay.
I mean, typically when you get the grade going down, we'll put the first floor on the street level and, intentionally design it so that the basement becomes a walkout.
Okay.
We've got houses in Granby carved into cliffs.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
So keep that in mind.
Okay. The other comment was a question that one of the neighbors had about whether the 7 new wells in this area would be sustainable. And, any comment on that?
Well, I'd like to offer, you're welcome to comment as well, but included in the package, there was a letter from Farmington Valley Health District that clearly indicates the site is appropriate for septic and well.
Yeah.
So we have the official.
Okay, thank you for that.
Notice here.
Just give me 1 second just to kind of scan through some notes I scribbled down here.
Yeah.
28 of these things, so it's one way split, but
Yeah, I'm not gonna do anything.
See, do you have any comments or questions or anything? No? Okay, no, I think we're,
You're good?
I think we're good.
So I'd entertain a request from you to keep the hearing open and extend.
I would like you to keep the hearing open, and I'm happy to put it in writing, and I'd be happy to extend it. I guess I'd look for some guidance as far as an extension date.
Well, we do take the month of August off, so we would be looking at the first meeting in September,
September 9th.
September 9th. Gives you plenty of time to get all of your affairs in order.
So it wouldn't be possible to do anything like shorter than that?
No.
Okay, well, then September 9th it is.
There you go. Okay. Great. Do we need to do anything more formally on our side?
No, I'll just take an email and write
Okay,
it,
all right, all right.
and that's fine for the extension.
Okay.
And I just want to point out too, in the packet, we did receive public communication.
We did.
From Peggy LaRue, and then we also received, after the packet went out, communication from Brianne Bates.
Right.
And that is part of the record.
Very good. Thank you, Abby. I got that. Okay, well, we have received a request to keep the public hearing on the application for the 7-lot subdivision, so we're going to do that, and we will reconvene in September. We're moving on to item number 7 on the agenda tonight, which is receive applications and schedule public hearings if applicable.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
No applications to receive.
So it'll be just one in September?
Yeah, unless we receive anything during the month of August.
That's
we'll
right.
add it on.
We're on vacation, but you're not. All right. We're not considering any applications tonight, so I'm going to move on to staff reports and correspondence. Anything for us, Abby?
Nothing to report.
Okay, I'm going to move on to commissioner reports and correspondence. Anything from the commission? Very good. Moving on to, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Hearing is, meeting is over.